Libra, March was a really hectic month for us all, but the good news is April is bringing harmony, bliss, emotional understanding, and emotional connection unlike ever before. And it's going to affect you in specific areas of your life. So in this video, I want to give you your complete rundown into your April of 2025 horoscope and how you can embody and align with these positive energies to your benefit. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Isabelle, your spiritual rebel friend, and today we are talking about your sign's horoscope for April of 2025. I say your sign because I heard from last month, I listened, guys, you really did appreciate the longer horoscopes, but I had to find a way to make this a little more efficient. In today's video specifically, I am going to cover the major themes for Libra in April, transits in April divided by theme and how they will affect Libra, how the full moon in Libra will affect Libra, how the new moon in Taurus will affect Libra, and practical tips for Aries to work with this energy, or Aries, Libra. Guys, it's been a long day of filming. Practical tips for Libra to work with this energy in April. And so if you are someone, Libra sun, moon, and rising, who not only likes to take in the information of astrology, but know how to apply it to your life, watch through to the end of this video where I'm going to share some of my top tips for Libra specifically to work with this energy that is presenting itself in April. And before we dive into your horoscope today, be sure to book a reading in the link in the description below, where in 1 hour we can dive deep into any and everything you need to know about the upcoming month of April, how it affects your sign and your entire chart. So not just your sun, your moon, your rising, and so much more, as well as other things that may be happening in your chart that you can utilize to your benefit to gain the things you want in life. So not only is this astrology, it's also your personology, so your Enneagram, your Myers-Briggs, and so much more. We can cover it all. Sky is the limit. This is for anyone interested in astrology, self-development, and manifestation. Learn more about readings down below. I also now offer an astrology coaching program where for just $100 a month, you get personalized monthly guidance live on Zoom call. And so if that sounds interesting to you, check out more information about my astrology coaching membership down below, and also check out any of my other offerings that I have, including my astrology bundle where you can learn how to work through different energies in your chart practically for self-care and growth. And you can check out my Master Astrologer course where I teach you how to become your own astrologer and deeply but simply understand the stars. In short, check out all the links in the description below. Now let's dive into your horoscope. Overall, regardless of your sign, April is a month that really does highlight our emotional needs and desire to grow, and how growing our emotional awareness affects us in many means. This is because there's a lot of Cancer and Pisces energy present in many different forms of transits, trines, and more. This really does emphasize that overall, throughout the month of April, we really are finding that to act in alignment with our emotions becomes easier. And this also works really well in alignment with our highest path of growth that is present right now, where we are all developing our empathy, compassion, and spirituality in some way or in some area of our life. Not only is there a lot of water energy present through the archetype of Cancer and Pisces that heightens the themes of emotional attunement in the month of April, but there's also some Aries and Leo energy present that has been long awaited in many ways. And this can bring a lot of motion forward in conversations and in movement we've been wanting to do in matters related to our passion, as passion and desire are both themes present within any fire sign and in Aries and Leo specifically. This is because Mars will be entering Leo, which I'll touch on more later, but also because Mars is going to re-enter Aries. And so overall, there's this theme of fire energy present in the month of April that gives us this almost fire back in our veins, motivation coming back, and working through communication and maybe issues that were present in the past. As both these planets were retrograde at some point, what this really symbolizes, having this Aries and Leo energy present in the month of April, highlights this theme almost of moving forward not only in desire, but communicating previous issues, moving forward on previous issues, and bringing maintenance to maybe conversations or actions related to our passion, our desire, and our authenticity. And also, simply put, I would add that it seems like love is in the air this month, simply because we will have a full moon and a new moon, per usual, but in the signs of Libra and Taurus, both of which are ruled by Venus. And Venus also does a lot of movement this month. So personally, I would describe that in the month of April, a major theme is this idea of love being in the air because of both full and new moons being in the signs ruled by Venus. This brings an emphasized Venusian, if that's how you pronounce it, energy that has us assessing maybe even our love life, our love for life, and focusing on doing things that truly bring us value. And that works very hand in hand with the Aries Leo energy we have present as well, because this is about doing things that are in alignment with our heart. And this works in alignment with the Cancer Pisces energy present that is all about following our purest positive energy. So how exactly will these major themes play out for Libra? Libra, I'm seeing that yes, there's still this emotional harmony, fulfillment, all of which I have mentioned, but specifically affecting your work as well as your relationships. That's where I'd say the main areas that are being affected for you, especially because the first half of the month is still Aries season, which puts the sun in your 7th house. So you're focusing on your relationships, but also that may feel a little tainted, so to say, because in the first half of the month, we also have a lot of energy in your 6th and 10th house, your work house and your profession house, your daily habits house and your career house. So you may feel very called to just focus on living in a line of work that you enjoy. You may be feeling extra emotional harmony and connection and joy in your work in the beginning of the month. And then the second half of the month, you want to, so to say, hunker down less and focus on you, and even more so, focus on your relationships, your meaning in your relationships, your relationship to others, your relationship to the world. Your connections to the outside world get extremely accentuated since we have so much Aries Leo energy as well. Like I said in the intro, we have a few energies present with Cancer and Pisces working together. That is because there are a few trines happening this month, 2 major ones that are working with Mars and Cancer and the energies that are present in the sign of Pisces, specifically Venus, the North Node, and Saturn in Pisces. On April 5th, the Moon and Mars in Cancer will form a trine to Saturn, Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and the North Node in Pisces. And while it peaks on April 5th, we can feel this energy present up to at the start of April, all the way through to roughly the 18th until Mars enters Leo. What this trine really represents is this idea that we can act in alignment with our emotions, simply put, and the action we take in alignment with our emotions, with our need for nurturance, is working hand in hand with our need to grow into empathy, compassion, and spirituality. With Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and the North Node, and Saturn in the sign of Pisces, all forming together in a little party, what that energy really represents in and of itself, just this Pisces energy, is that our highest growth is towards Pisces energy, compassion, spirituality, empathy, focusing on how things make us feel and how it makes others feel rather than what we do. But with Mercury retrograde here, this adds an extra level of introspection and reflecting on what exactly this means to us, trying to assess the path forward to stepping into this growth. And Venus retrograde here is adding to this us reflecting on the value of embracing these traits. How valuable is it for me to be compassionate? What does it mean to be compassionate? What is the value of empathy? What is the value of spirituality? Venus has us assessing our values. And Saturn is, while it can be a detrimental planet, so to say, I think is adding an extra layer of discipline for us to actually sit down and think about these things, or at least a little bit of structure to these thoughts to help us think about, okay, how does empathy interact with my actual life? How does this idea of spirituality actually work within our lives? This also could mean with Saturn here that there's a bit of restriction. However, overall, Saturn is feeling lighter energy because of this trine. With Mars forming a trine to this Piscean energy, this means that our growth and actions are working together. This is a very positive transit to have because it's water sign Mars energy. And the reason I say this is so positive is the fact that overall, the North Node being in Pisces is calling us to do more of what feels good. And because Mars, the planet of action, is involved in this, this could mean that to act in alignment with our hearts, with our emotions, with our need to be gentle becomes much easier. So the whole beginning of this month of April is tainted or painted with this theme of acting in alignment becomes easier. Doing nurturing actions support our growth, and the work we do with our growth and introspection we do with our growth helps us align, take actions in alignment easier. So it's a two-way street. Mars and Cancer supporting Pisces, Pisces energy supporting Cancer. This is a harmonious relationship they have going on. And not only are we going to have the trine between Cancer energy, Mars and Cancer, and all this Pisces energy, but we will also have a grand water trine involving these planets all once again, and the moon in Scorpio. You can look back to roughly February 23rd of 2025 to get some ideas on what exactly may be coming back up for you, because we had a very similar grand water trine on February 23rd. And I will put my card up here, hopefully, where if I remember, where I talked about this grand water trine. On February 23rd, we had a grand water trine between Mars and Cancer, as well as, I believe it was specifically Mercury in Pisces, and Vesta, the asteroid of devotion, in Scorpio. So this is a much more, in a sense, short-lived grand water trine now, because the moon is evolved and the moon is involved, to clarify my words there. The moon is involved and the moon moves much faster. So this is a short burst grand water trine, but this also goes hand in hand with the trines we are having between Cancer and Pisces energy in general at the beginning of the month. And so when we have this grand water trine, when the moon's getting involved, it's adding that extra layer of emotional awareness, emotional depth, emotional understanding, and emotional drive to make it so that all our different forms of emotional being are on the same page to act in alignment, grow in alignment, and feel in alignment. This means our heart, our actions, and our growth, our high self, are all on the same page. This is a very positive energy to embrace. You can simply put on or around this day, feel a sense of emotional clarity on what it is you need to do to remain devoted, connected, and aware of your emotions, to act in alignment with your emotions and act in alignment with your highest self. I would definitely recommend during this day and during these grand water trines in general, to notice and pay attention to what it is you feel called to grow to, what it is you feel you need to do more of to act in alignment with your emotions, and what natural actions come up during this time. So with these Pisces Cancer trines, how will this affect Libras specifically? And I'm sure throughout this video, I'm going to say Leos on accident instead of Libras, because I do that every single time I film for Leos and Libras. I get you guys mixed up. Even though I know who I'm talking to, I just say the wrong word. So this is Libra's horoscope. Once again, Libra. How will these Cancer Pisces trines affect you? Cancer and Pisces are your 6th and your 10th house, your career, your profession, your recognition, as well as your work, your health habits and routines and services. And so with these trines, what I'm seeing is throughout the beginning of the month, you're feeling extra emotional fulfillment and connection to your day-to-day life and how your work fits into that. Whether you work a 9-to-5 job or are more of a entrepreneurship profession, managerial role where it's not necessarily as much of that clocking in, clocking out service role, you're feeling emotional connection to the line of work you do and feeling more fulfillment here, which I could see as recognition, feeling healthy, feeling thriving. This is something to embrace. We also have a lot of energy present in the sign of Pisces throughout the month of April, which means that, simply put, we are all starting to prioritize and focus on what our next step to growth is. Like I said in my March horoscope, there was this theme with the solar eclipse being in Aries that we know, with the North Node currently being in Pisces, that we know we need to grow into more empathy, compassion, spirituality in a certain realm of life over the next 18 months. But we had to wrap up some stuff first with Aries themes. Well, we finally wrapped up those Aries themes, and now we're getting sent more Pisces energy as a way to encourage us to focus on what our next step to growth is. Starting off specifically on April 2nd and 3rd, Venus retrograde conjuncts the North Node in Pisces, which means we are assessing the value of our growth, assessing the value of Pisces energy and how that can help us overall, grow as people. Then on April 7th, Venus retrograde is conjunct Saturn in Pisces, since Saturn and the North Node are quite literally basically hand in hand with each other this entire month. And so when Venus retrograde is conjunct Saturn in Pisces, this can emphasize the need for discipline to assess our values, to actually sit down and focus on, okay, what do I need? It can also make us feel a bit more restricted potentially in our ability to assess what we value, feeling like there maybe is less that we value in general. And that's something to be patient with. Overall, Saturn does remind us of patience. And then more importantly, on April 7th, Mercury stations direct at 26 degrees of Pisces, which is very, very important. I think roughly, if I was going to remember off the top of my head, Mercury was last at these degrees of Pisces at the end of February, right before it entered Aries on March 3rd of 2025. It entered Aries. So you can look back to that time period. What were you trying to move forward over that period of time? Now you can finally feel that you're making that motion forward once and for all. Mercury direct in Pisces heightens your understanding, your communication, and what you are learning about empathy, compassion, and spirituality in a certain realm of life. Following suit right after, on April 12th, Venus also stations direct at specifically 24 degrees of Pisces. And what this specifically means is, again, that idea and energy of following suit. Now, after reflecting on the values of our growth, reflecting on the values of empathy, compassion, and spirituality in our lives, now we can start implementing these values and acting on these values. This could mean that you feel called to actually spend more time in solitude, or to set boundaries with people who don't prioritize your peace, or maybe even practicing more compassion and unconditional love in your romantic life, especially true for those who are Scorpio suns or rising, since this is your 5th house, and Virgo sun and rising, who this is your 7th house. On April 21st, Saturn will conjunct the true North Node, which means that we may be feeling again some of that restriction towards our highest path to growth. And on April 25th, Venus direct is conjunct Saturn in Pisces. So you can kind of see, as I say over the screen, aka it's a Pisces party. There's a lot happening in Pisces. You can go into detail into it more, but really the major theme here that is important to note is finally feeling motion forward eventually in what it is we need to do for our growth, and really focusing energy on our understanding and movement forward into learning and reflecting on the values of empathy, compassion, and spirituality, if I haven't said it enough. So with this strong Pisces energy, how will this specifically affect Libras? Libras, what this really does for you is that it brings emotional fulfillment, but also a focus on your highest path to growth during this time towards your health habits, routines, schedules, and things that make you feel good. This is a good month for you to prioritize your health and your habits, and to make a schedule, a day in, day out life that feels good to you. As I also mentioned, we don't just have a lot of water sign energy present this month, though it is definitely very, very strong water energy. We also have some strong Aries and Leo energy. And I'm actually going to go out of chronological order as opposed to how it shows on my little screenshot here, cheat sheet summary. Mars enters Leo on April 18th. And this is very, very big because Mars has been retrograde since, I believe, December 6th. And December 6th to January 6th, that's when it was retrograde in Leo. Mars entered Leo on November 3rd, I believe. And so from November, this is basically what this means, to recap that a little better, is we can be experiencing motion forward and progress that we have been working on and waiting on since November 3rd. This is a long-awaited transit because November 3rd, you started something related to your passions, your courage, how you show up authentically around others, being more bold, being more seen, owning who you are in passionate, loving ways, acting on your passions, acting on the desire to have fun. You have been waiting to act on that. You started something there November 3rd, but then December 6th slowed that all down and made you backtrack. And then it felt like it completely went away from January 6th to February 23rd and so on, when Mars was retrograde and direct now in Cancer. When Mars finally re-enters Leo, you can start to make that progress forward towards owning the authentic self you want to be and doing things that are in alignment with your authentic self. Authenticity is a huge theme of Leo. Leo also brings up huge themes of passion, acting on passion specifically. What does it mean to act on passion to you? And look back to November. What were you starting to act on that was in alignment with your passion, play, and in love in many ways? Unconditional love, arguably. This works very well with Pisces energy. It's passionate love, joyful love. So you can finally be taking action forward there again when Mars goes direct. This is very, very big. It can feel like a huge leap forward, back on track, back on progress. And so I can't give an exact date on when exactly Mars will finish transiting over this ground, so to say. I had it written down somewhere, but I forgot to keep it on my present note to see down here. But overall, I would guess roughly the first month, a month period, for the next month period, roughly from April 18th to let's say May 18th, you can finally finish doing the things that you set out to do starting in November in relevance to action aligned with passion, love, play, and joy. Also, to work backwards on the timeline, Mercury enters Aries on April 16th. This is also very big. We had Mercury enter Aries March 3rd and station retrograde March 15th and transit through backwards through Aries until March 30th, roughly. And so when on April 16th, Mercury enters Aries again, we're making communication progress forward over things that we have had to reassess and recommunicate and rethink in matters related to our independence and assertion and authenticity. So basically, to put that simply, what has been going on in your communication and in communication related to your independence, authenticity, and assertion over the entire month of March. These can be things that you're finally making progress forward once again, communicating specifically things that you've already had to communicate before, and finalizing things. I think that's a good way to describe it. Finalizing it to move forward. Also throughout the month, Neptune is in Aries. Neptune is a new development, so to say. It entered Aries on the 30th of March, which means that we are upholding and learning ideals in Aries themes. So this can kind of go hand in hand with Mercury being here. April 12th, Aries has some very high involvement, given that not only is it creating the full moon in Aries, or full moon in Libra, shining a light on Libra, but Chiron's also involved. And more on that when we talk about the full moon in Libra later in the video. April 30th, Venus enters Aries, again, that following suit at the end of the month, bringing and movement forward to our assessment of our values. Venus, gosh, I don't remember off the top of my head. Venus was in Aries in March and did retrograde motion. I honestly don't remember off the top of my head, guys, but you guys know the dates. I know because you guys, if you're following my channel, you tend to know all these transits going on. You guys usually aren't total newbies. Apologies for the newbies who are here who wanted the information, but April 30th, when Venus enters Aries once again, we can feel motion forward when it comes to assessing the value of our independence. And you may be actually acting on these values of independence more, whether that's in your love life or in your love for life, prioritizing beautiful, harmonious, pleasureful things in your life that bring you independence and authenticity. And then in between there, April 19th, Mars in Leo forms a trine to Neptune and Mercury in Aries at 0 degrees of Aries. So right after Mars enters Leo, since Mercury enters Aries and Mars enters Leo pretty much at the same time, they directly then form a trine together as soon as they do so. And so what this can really mean, it's like this merging trine energy. Mercury and Cancer, or Mercury and Mars in Cancer and Pisces form trines, and then they later follow together to form trines in Leo and Aries. What that even symbolically represents is our communication and our understanding are on the same page as our actions. So we can really feel a lot of clarity around our actions and acting from a place of clarity. And when this specifically happens in Aries and in Leo, this can mean that we are acting and speaking in alignment with our authentic passion and joyful desire. So how will this Aries-Leo energy affect Libra specifically? This activates your 7th and 11th house. Hence why I said in the major themes for you that it seems like halfway through the month, you're going from work hard, focus on health habits, be that healthy girl type energy, whatever you want to call it. But halfway through the month, then you are more out in the world. Your 11th house is the house of your community, as well as your purpose and aspirations. And in the end, it's getting at the idea of why are you individually here? What is your individual purpose? You're connecting to individual purpose by being out in the world, but you're also getting 7th house energy, which is your one-on-one relationships, your friendships, and your romantic partnerships. And this is motion forward in these areas of life that you have been waiting on, because Mercury is re-entering Aries and Mars is re-entering Leo. So you can feel movement forward in finding more passion, desire, confidence, courage, and being seen truly for your authentic self in your one-on-one relationships, as well as in your community and the purpose you want to be seen for. This can really feel like you're finally stepping into the version of yourself that you want to be in the world and in your relationships. This is a very positive energy for you that is accentuated when we have that trine to Neptune and Mercury and Leo all combined. So you can feel this sense of passionate desire in your community, in your aspirations. This could be a good time to work on your purpose projects, as well as focus on your one-on-one relationships and communication here. Uranus also plays a big role in the month of April, given that Pisces energy, different planets in Pisces will be forming sextiles to this planet Uranus that is in the sign of Taurus. Uranus and Taurus at large brings up themes of, for us all, how or where or what we need to do in order to innovate in matters related to our stable senses of security. It brings us unexpected change, specifically to what is secure and material in our life, to ask ourselves, what does security mean to us and what does self-worth mean to us? And this is accentuated for Aries Sun, Moon, and Rising, because this is your 2nd house. But overall, Taurus as an archetype in general has a lot to do with what is stable, both our emotional stability and our physical. And so throughout this month, Uranus in Taurus is involved in a few different sextiles to Pisces energy. And what this represents is that our overall growth energy, our energy of learning compassion, empathy, and spirituality is also going positively hand in hand with the work we've been doing since 2019 with our self-worth, our sense of security, our emotional security, and our physical security. On April 4th, when we already at the beginning of the month have this Pisces Cancer energy trining, forming positive relationship to our emotions, Saturn in Pisces will form a sextile to Uranus in Taurus. And with that in mind, this brings an energy of stability and structure and discipline to our self-worth. The work we are sitting down to do, the focus and determination we are bringing to our growth journey about learning to be more spiritual and set boundaries is going hand in hand and working positively with our finances, our self-worth, and what is considered stable. There's like a little flurry over the screen right here. I know I can see it in the camera. I'm sure you guys can too, and you're going to say something later. I actually had someone say that like that was a spirit. Maybe it is, maybe it's dust. Anyway, this also works other way, contrarily, in the sense that when there is any sort of aspect to Uranus, this means that Uranus is activated to bring change. So it could be possible at the beginning of the month, April 4th, there could be something unexpected shaking up the Taurus area of your life, depending on the house it's in, that shakes up your sense of stability, your sense of comfort, your sense of groundedness. And this goes positively hand in hand with the discipline and structure you need towards your growth journey. Similar themes will rise up once again on April 8th when Venus retrograde in Pisces forms this same sextile to Uranus and Taurus. However, this is more about the values we are assessing in regards. So something unexpected could happen once again to what makes us feel stable emotionally and physically. And this causes us to gain further insight into what it is we value as far as empathy, compassion, and spirituality. It could be in an extreme but not realistic scenario. It could be let's say you're losing some form of physical asset with Uranus and Taurus involved, and it's something you thought you valued, but then it helps you realize that that's not really what gives you a sense of security, and it actually helps you step into more spirituality and unconditional love because you realize that it's not something that makes you feel positive. That's how I see this Pisces Uranus energy working out. And then on April 20th, 25th, the North Node in Pisces is sextiling Uranus and Taurus with Venus now direct. And what that means is that the themes that came up around the 8th could be returning on the 20th, related to your self-worth, your value, the things that are stable, But also this is even more so in alignment with your growth because the North Node is involved. This is pushing you in a positive way towards your growth journey. Overall, I would say because this is a sextile and because this is Pisces energy with the North Node being material gain, I would say this could be a positive shift overall in people's finances or in something that provides them a sense of security. This could be financial positivity. This could be emotional positivity. I think this is a very, very positive expression of Uranus. So Libras with Uranus in Taurus forming sextiles to Pisces energy in your 6th house. This means 6th and 8th house energy combined. Your intimate shared relationships where you're either physically, mentally, emotionally, or financially dependent are working positively with your health habits and routines and services. So what this means for you is that you may have unexpected shifts in likely your intimate relationships, whether that depends on who you share with, what you share with them, or what intimacy means to you. And the shifts that you feel here can positively affect your health habits and routines. In one very extreme example, this could be moving out of an apartment and going to live on your own, or someone moving out. And this actually positively affects how much you enjoy your day-to-day life. That's one interpretation. It could mean you're having a mental revelation that, intimacy to me is not maybe so much about physicality, it's about mental connection. Or, I realize I'm actually letting people share or be reliant on me more than I want them to be. This is some sort of unexpected mental change to what intimate dependent connection means to you for the positive, to have more structure and stability. Taurus is a fellow ruled Venus sign. And so this can help you bring more value to your life. And this will come up again later when we have that new moon in Taurus. The full moon in Libra, simply put, as basic themes, brings themes of fruition to our peace, fruition to our diplomacy, fruition to our morality, and fruition to our connections, especially for those who are Aries, and this is their 7th house. Overall, I do think the fact that the South Node has been in Libra plays a very important role in this full moon since it's tied to the eclipse. How are we keeping the peace for the sake of peace, but it was really causing inner conflict? And how is it not in alignment with our authenticity? That was a theme from mid-2023 till 2025. And so with this full moon being in Libra, tied to an eclipse that is wrapping up themes related to this North and South Node journey around authenticity, we may feel that we're finally experiencing the fruitions of this is what connection and peace should really mean, under the basis of the changes I've finally initiated in matters related to my independent self, my authentic self, and being more assertive with who I am. So the full moon in Libra brings this fruition to this story. There's also a few other things involved that also accentuate this theme as well of being tied to Aries energy, which I mentioned in my, my Aries section probably. The Aries sun, which creates the full moon, is conjunct Chiron. But the practical advice I'd give to this, given how many different interpretations I'm seeing right now, is that our wounds are involved in this. In order to find that completion, in order to find that connection and harmony that we're wanting to bring to fruition, to release the final themes of all this eclipse energy in Aries, we have to identify that there may still be or was wounds in our life associated with this independence, assertion, and authenticity that we've been embracing. So this could be a time to own, in a sense, your wounds, not for the sake of self-pity, but to accept yourself so that you can form true connections. That's what my intuition kind of tells me the interpretation is on this, even though there's a few different things that could play out as well. Again, more on that when I do a video on the full moon in Libra. But also there is a square to Mars involved. And this is a very big theme in a sense because Mars is involved with a lot of positive trines throughout the month. But also the new moon, which I'll talk about in a minute, is also squaring Mars as well. So there's a square to Mars in both cases. And what that means is that these full moons and new moons are really not a time to take action. And this accentuates even further that the full and new moon this month are in Libra and Taurus. Both these signs are ruled by Venus, which is Mars's counterpart. Mars is action, Venus is receiving. Mars is masculine, Venus is feminine. And so I think this is really an opportunity and invitation, regardless of the Chiron themes that are showing up, to really own your femininity, which doesn't necessarily mean in appearance. It's about becoming and being in the receptive mode, allowing yourself to soften and maybe not take action. This is a month full of a lot of action where we're taking aligned action. The full and new moon act as like ad breaks or commercial breaks to tell us, okay, just soften, relax, and be in a state of receiving. And it's very possible something will come out with that. After all, a full moon in Libra overall does mean a fulfillment of luxury, a fulfillment of connection, a fulfillment of harmony, regardless of Chiron being involved. It just means that maybe there are wounds also coming up to be aware of. This could also mean it is the wounded healer. So maybe we are healing wounds in others associated with independence, assertion, authenticity, because you've recently initiated something here. And maybe someone needs that piece of advice. And on the same day, Venus stations direct in the sign of Pisces, I believe at like 26 or 24 degrees of Pisces. And this also means that Venus, which is ruling over this moon, moving direct at the same time means that we are acting, or not acting, but being in alignment. So maybe tapping into that energy of compassion, empathy, and softening. Again, that could be this idea of the wounded healer, maybe healing others or giving yourself that compassion. So Libras, with this full moon in your sign, this can feel like finally reaping the rewards on who you want to be that you have been working towards for the last 2 years. Overall, with the North Node having been in Aries in your 7th house since July of 2023, you've been growing into your relationships, growing into partnerships, growing into more authentic friendships, and less into and moving away from being the persona of who you thought you needed to be. But that doesn't mean you don't want to be your own individual. Your life isn't just about being with others. You've been wanting to shift who you are and how you perceive yourself. And so with this full moon in Libra in your 1st house of your sense of self-identity, you may be finally feeling the sense of, I am who I want to be. I think this is a very internal full moon for Libras, not necessarily major changes in the external world potentially, but feeling like your relationships are matching who you want to be, the version of yourself you've been trying to become. And the fact that it is squaring Mars in Cancer, which is your 10th house, that's right. You may not be taking a bunch of action or being overly recognized in your career. You may not have this whole spotlight energy that oftentimes can be associated with 1st house energy. This may more feel like really coming into your own skin. So there's a really good time to soak in the appreciation of feeling like you have become who you want to be. I know full moons, usually we're waiting for something cool or exciting to externally manifest in our reality oftentimes, but I think this is more of an internal realization for you Libras, which is still very valuable in the sense of you finally actually have your external reality as you want it to be, but it's taking you to now to realize that you have become who you've always wanted to be. And finally, the final transit to talk about in April of 2025 is on April 27th. We will have a new moon in the sign of Taurus. Again, Taurus is Venus ruled. So really this means new beginnings associated with what we value. Taurus is also the sign in which Uranus is in. So we have been for the last 5-6 years shifting what it is we value in matters related to our security, comfort, indulgence, and emotional stability. And so this could be a new beginning revolving around these themes. It is just a minor, so to say, new moon. So maybe not necessarily having to see the huge deep meaning here, but that's how I'm personally seeing it. New moon in Taurus as general themes brings new beginnings to our comfort, new beginnings to our security, new beginnings to how we indulge, new beginnings to what feels stable. Taurus is the bull in the bubble, which is the idea of finding their own little pleasant field to be in and just staying there. So maybe this has a theme to do with what is the new bubble you need to form for yourself so that you don't pop, so to say. With that also, this new moon in Taurus forms a square to Mars in Leo, like I talked about with the full moon in Libra. That also squared Mars specifically in Cancer. This again appears with Mars in Leo. And what that represents is while you are finally experiencing motion forward with your passion, play, courage, taking courageous action, this new moon in Taurus is like a commercial break saying, okay, you're doing great on your action. You've done a lot of work this month. You're doing a lot. But now receive and set new intentions based off of what you want to receive. Align with your values. Again, ruled by Venus. Venus is the opposite, the other side of the coin to Mars. Mars is masculine, Venus is feminine. And so with a new moon in a Venus-ruled sign, squaring Mars, it really does accentuate this idea of focusing less on action and more on intention. And I think that is, when we're talking about new moons in general, there is sometimes the do something new approach, and then there is the set new intentions approach. I think this really leans into the set new intentions approach in the sense of send out these signals to the universe for what it is you want to receive and be, and based off of what you value, and let the universe guide you forward. It also then, therefore, is squaring Pluto in Aquarius, and during that, therefore, I mean, Mars is opposing Pluto in Aquarius. So two things happening there. With the new moon squaring Pluto in Aquarius, this means that the new beginnings that we are taking into place, that are wanting to be set in stone in our material reality, may not go in alignment with the innovative ideas we've been coming up with. Meaning that over the beginning of the year, you may have felt like, okay, I need to change this pattern. I need to be this different person. I need to innovate something in my life. I need to let go of this idea of materialism. I need to be detached. But Taurus is very material. And so the new beginning that you want to initiate may not feel in alignment with that. And given that Mars is opposing Pluto in Aquarius right now, it simply means that there's a push-pull dynamic, I think, between what is the most passionate, mundane thing for us to do versus what is the most spiritual, detached, intellectual growth version of us to do. The most human version of us and the most superhuman are at odds, so to say. And I think Taurus is basically forming as a mediary, in a sense, even though it's let's back that up a little bit, actually, to explain this metaphor a little bit better. Whenever we have a square that's at 90 degrees, right? And even an opposition is two other ends of the spectrum. Mars is opposing Pluto in Aquarius. Mars in Leo, Pluto in Aquarius. What that means is that they're at a standoff. They're not seeing eye to eye. They're staring at each other, so they're seeing eye to eye technically, but they're not wanting to meet in the middle. And so we need to have something in that energy that helps us meet in the middle. In a way, how I'm seeing this, the new moon in Taurus is forming as that mediary. It's not necessarily the best mediary because it's squaring. It's not necessarily going to be this diplomatic, harmonious mediary, but it's basically standing in between the standoff saying, enough, I'm done with this. This is just what we're doing. Like a Taurus, like a stubborn bull really would be. So the new moon in Taurus is trying to be this mediary for this energy of passion versus innovation, fun versus humanity, almost, so to say, or even simply put, just follow your joy versus follow your growth is actually really how I would describe that. Following joy versus following growth. The new moon in Taurus helps us meet in the middle and say, I need to just initiate something new in alignment with my values that I've been changing, growing, and innovating. And I just need to align with the intention. Also, there is a sextile between Uranus and the North Node in Venus, still activated throughout this period, which means Venus is involved in a positive aspect to Uranus in the same sign. So focusing on, if I can really explain the connection here, Uranus rules over Aquarius. Pluto's in Aquarius in a negative aspect, but Uranus is in a positive aspect with this new moon, and Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is involved positively in this new moon. And the North Node is also involved positively. The North Node being our next highest path to growth. So it may even in a sense feel like there's an opposition, opposing views going on somewhere in your life, but it's not to let it take your attention. It's distraction almost, it seems. Because the sextile between Uranus and then the North Node in Venus activated during the same time and in the same sign and with the planetary ruler really does indicate to me that there's this focus on letting change come to you in alignment with your values and letting the universe present to you what it is you should or do truly value at your core and think differently potentially. The Taurus and Aquarius and Leo are all fixed signs, last I checked. And so there's maybe this fixed mentality that is being encouraged to let go of. Maybe the best way to overcome this maybe challenging energy of fixed point of views is to let go of fixed point of views and just focus on what you value and change your way of thinking. That is encouraged because Uranus is having a positive aspect during the same time of this new moon. So how will this new moon in Taurus affect you, Libras? Again, this is your 8th house energy, and throughout the month we've had sextiles to Uranus in Taurus in your 8th house. So I'd recommend for this new moon, which is inviting you to set new intentions, to Observe what has unexpectedly shifted in your intimate dependent relationships, whether that's financially dependent, physically dependent sharing, emotionally dependent in sharing, mentally dependent in sharing, or some form of sharing. What has shifted here for you, either in personal values in this area of life or externally? And how has that changed the way you think about intimate relationships, dependent relationships? You may be feeling called to set new intentions here, but these aren't necessarily new intentions that you need to act on fast, since Mars is squaring this new moon in your, I forget already, your 11th house. So with that, you may feel like you've been more vibrant and seen in your community over the month, and you may feel like you're really owning who you are authentically. But this new moon in Taurus is telling you to shift away from this area of life, so to say, and more focus on who you want to be, what you want from your dependent relationships. Do you want a relationship that really shares, or do you want one that's more separate? Maybe you guys share schedules, but maybe you don't share bank accounts. Maybe you share bank accounts, but you don't share your day-to-day lives. Maybe you share physically, but you don't want to share mentally, emotionally yet. Whatever it is, you're called to set a new intention here, and this works in alignment with your highest path to growth during this time over the next 17 months, which is towards more health habits, more schedules, more routines, more focusing on refining your day-to-day life. So this works well, again, because there's that Uranus in Taurus energy sextiling this Pisces energy. So while it may feel like, I don't know what's going on in my purpose, in my play, I don't know where I fit in the world, or how this changes I'm feeling, I don't know how this is going to fit into my life, but just focus on, okay, what do I want my day-to-day habits to look like? What do I want my intimate relationships to look like? This can be your centering point during this new moon for the positive. Again, this is a fellow Venus ruled sign, so this is to bring you value to your life. So with that long horoscope in mind, what would I recommend for Libra sun, Libra rising in the month of April? I would definitely say that in the beginning half of the month, really focus on how good your work makes you feel, or how good it is making you feel. I would think that your work and your career are feeling more fulfilling during this time, but maybe not. Maybe you feel more called to do something that is more emotionally fulfilling. Prioritize your work in your day-to-day schedules as well as your health. What does your day in, day out look like as a person who works? And if someone retired is watching this, just because I know I actually do have a strong demographic of that, my interpretation of this would be, how do you prioritize how you are seen in the world? Prioritize being seen in ways that make you feel vibrant. What are the things and the habits for all of you? What are the health habits that make you feel good? What are the things you love having in your day-to-day life? Is it going to a coffee shop, connecting with a friend? Is it going for a walk on the beach? Do those things and allow yourself to be seen for those things. So that's a bit of an interpretation for both those who are retired and for those who are in a line of work. For those who are in a line of work, prioritize work. For those who aren't, be seen. Be out in the world, truly. Let yourself be seen, because you have qualities and beautiful traits to be recognized for still, even if you are not professionally working in a career. So that's my first tip. Prioritize those things. Secondly, I would say that halfway through the month, focus on your connections. When we have that Aries Leo energy shift, when we have that reactivated, focus on your purpose, focus on your impact, focus on doing things that put you out in the world and connecting with others. I keep seeing cars move in the background and it's very distracting. So prioritize your relationships with others, your community, and one-on-one halfway through the month. And the final thing I would say is really pay attention to your intimate relationships. With all that Uranus in Taurus energy, what is happening in your shared dependent relationships? And maybe even taking time to reflect and observe your codependencies, in the sense of, how do you become codependent on people, which we all do. I hit the wall, which we all do in some way. A friendship is being, to some degree, an expectation. An expectation is a dependency, and we're maybe on a friend dependent and expecting them to listen, or depending and expecting on them to show up, or depending and expecting on them to side with us. So there's dependencies in all situations. So I really recommend for you Libra suns and Libra risings to observe where your dependencies lie, both ways. Who's dependent on you? How are they dependent on you? And who are you dependent on, and how? And where's the root of that? Why Why do you allow this? Why do you do this? Is there a root here? Did you have this in childhood? Is this something you didn't get in childhood? Is it to gain something in return? Because really all dependencies, we allow them if we get a reward in return. So really contemplate those themes. I know that's kind of vague. If you want more specific detail, you can always book a reading down below and I can break this down even further. But those are the 3 tips I'd majorly give to Libras for the month of April. Libras, let me know in the comments below. Did you enjoy this new sort of format for this horoscope? Did this resonate for you? Are you feeling these energies? Are you excited for the month of April? Are you looking forward to it because it's really positive energy? Do you have any more questions that I didn't cover? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to go deeper into your horoscope for the month of April, check out my readings down below or join my monthly membership where you get personalized guidance to the stars once a month, as well as unlimited access to all of my astrology resources. So check that out down below and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay tuned for more videos breaking down the stars and more. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, my name is Isabelle, and from my heart to yours, namaste.